I'm one of the admissions tutors on the course, and I'm also one of the lecturers. And what I'm going to do today is just talk you through the course, so how we structure it, what you could expect to be doing over the 3 years that you'll be studying with us, and just generally what the nature of the subject is to help you make an informed decision. First of all, some of you might have already decided that you definitely want to study law. Some of you might be a little bit undecided as to whether it's the right option for you or not. So I'm just going to briefly, first of all, think about why it might be a subject that you want to study. First of all, law degree is a very well-respected degree. So if you're sort of weighing up your options, should I do law, should I do another subject? What you'll find is employers do respect a law degree, because you're going to pick up excellent transferable skills. Throughout the 3 years you're here with us, you're going to have sessions which are going to improve your communication skills, both oral and written. You're going to have good skills of analysis, good research skills. You're going to be able to analyse and evaluate large volumes of information, create good arguments. Now, all of those things you can take into any field of work. It's not just about a one track into the legal profession. So some people think, well, there's only any point doing law if I want to be a lawyer. And that's absolutely not true. So it's a good degree to have. It's a good foundation to have to take into any field of work. And as I said, employers recognise that fact. Coming in, that's fine. Take a seat. The other thing, the law is very diverse, very wide-ranging. Initially, I think people, when they think about the law, tend to think about the criminal law, contract commercial law, maybe a little bit of family law, but don't actually realise how broad the law is. It's very diverse, very wide-ranging. And I'm going to be talking to you a little bit today about not just the core subjects that you'll be studying, but all the optional subjects that you can look at. So, for example, myself, I teach sports law. And when I tell people I teach sports law, they look at me and just think, is that a real subject? Have you just made that up? It is a real subject. And it's an area of law that's very much a developing area of practice, and is becoming something that maybe 10 years ago you wouldn't have found any sports law firms. You wouldn't have found many sports law departments within law firms. But now we have specialist law firms dealing with sports issues and lots of firms that have sports departments. So it just gives you an idea that everything we do, the law impacts on it. So as I said, I'll talk a little bit more about that when I look at optional subjects. It's very diverse, very wide-ranging subject. So you're not just going to be studying one thing. The other thing, it's very dynamic. And what I mean by that is just it changes all the time. Okay? The law doesn't stay still. So the chances are that when you come to study law, you won't be studying necessarily all of the same things that somebody 5 years ago was studying, or even last year. I teach contract law with the first years, and at the moment we're right in the middle of teaching the new Consumer Rights Act. That only came into force in October and has changed lots of the law relating to contract. So it's very dynamic, it's changing all the time, it keeps us on our toes, and we're not just studying the same old thing that everybody's been doing for years. So lots of reasons why you might study law, and ultimately at the end of it, as I said, it's not just a one track into the legal profession. Lots of opportunities, lots of things you can do with a law degree. So probably 60 to 70% of our students are thinking of going into the legal profession. We have lots of students though that will go into teaching, into graduate schemes with the police. They might go into just general commercial, financial work, social work, all sorts of things. And again, it depends what optional modules you might take that will create an interest in different fields. And again, for example, with my sports law, it's not necessarily just about being a sports lawyer. You know, a lot of my students are thinking of going into the administrative side of sport and working their way through in that direction. So there's lots of career opportunities. So in terms of why law, lots of good reasons to do it as a good foundational degree. Why Swansea? Obviously you've got an interest in Swansea, thinking about coming here. Why do you actually want to study law with us? Besides our lovely location that we have, beach right across the road, lovely big parks behind us, absolutely enviable location. But besides that, just one thing here to point out. We've been ranked the #1 law school in England and Wales by the students in the National Student Survey. This was the last round of the student survey that was done. This is students throughout the whole of the UK. being asked about what they thought of their degree, what they thought of their teaching, support facilities, feedback, everything, all aspects about their degree. And we've been ranked by the students, as I said, as the #1 law school in England and Wales. So it's something we're very, very proud of there, to show that we're delivering a good product. We feel we're delivering a good product, and it seems that the students also think that. So 98% overall rating. The other thing, there's no point just delivering a good degree if you're not going to get work at the end of it. Ultimately, we want you to be employable as well. So latest figures, 86% of our graduates in graduate employment within 6 months. And as I said, we're not just talking about in employment, stacking shelves in supermarkets, etc. We are talking about graduate positions. Again, it's not just about getting the degree here, it's about also making sure you have opportunities to get out there and see what it's like. What does it involve working in a solicitor's office? Or what does it involve being a barrister? Or all sorts of other areas of work. We've got, looking at the best part of around about 100 work placements now that you can get involved in. And the other thing we've incorporated into the degree, some of you may just be thinking of doing the 3 years with us, but there is an opportunity to take a year abroad at the end of your 2nd year. So lots of reasons why we think Swansea is a good place to come and do your degree. Now, what I want to move on to is just the structure of the course itself. What are you going to be doing here for your time if you decide to study with us? Now, as I said, some of you might be here for the single honours course. Some of you might be thinking about combining law with another discipline on one of our joint honours courses. We have a whole range of joint honours courses, and we have some specialist law degrees as well, crime and criminal justice, business law. They're all qualifying law degrees. So whether you do the single honours course or you take one of our joint honours routes or one of our specialist degrees, they're all qualifying law degrees. What that means is that they are recognised by the professional bodies, so the Law Society, Bar Council. Therefore, if you want to go on and study at the latter stages of training to go into work as a solicitor or a barrister, your law degree is a recognised degree. And that's something you just need to, if you're thinking of sort of joint degrees, always important to try and establish whether they are qualifying law degrees, whether there is sufficient quantity of law on them to make them qualifying degrees. So any degree that you would do with us would be a qualifying law degree. The majority of you, if you're opting for the single honours, which is by far our most popular course, would be with us for 3 years. That would be the minimum stay, and that's the work that you will do with us over the 3 years. As I said, you may choose to put it into a 4-year option by taking a year abroad, but what I'm going to be talking about today is the 3 years of legal study that you would undertake with us. As I said, some, whether it's law and languages, whether it's just having the year abroad, whether it's law and American studies, you will have that opportunity for a year out. That's not what I'm going to be focusing on today. I'm just going to be focusing on the 3 years. The other option, just to mention in terms of the courses that we do, some students might be thinking of doing a master's degree at a later stage, and that's something that can be quite expensive to add a master's degree on afterwards. We have got a new option, which is our M-Law degree, and that's a degree in law which you can then attach to a master's degree in human rights. The advantage of putting that together as a 4-year course is that you get a 30% reduction in fees going on to the master's degree. So a significant reduction there, which allows you to spread your study over 4 years and come out with a master's degree at the end of it. So there are all the different options we have. And as I said, what I'm going to talk to you about is the 3 years, the study of law that you will do with us. Now, I talked about the fact that our degrees are qualifying law degrees. And to get that qualifying status, we have to ensure that we study the subjects that the professional bodies need a student to study to go into the legal profession. And they are studied through the core modules. 7 core modules that the professional bodies insist that law students do. So whether you study with us, whether you study anywhere else in the UK, you will have to study these 7 core modules. And I'll talk a little bit more about those. You'll study them in years 1 and 2. So this is the way we structure our degree. These 7 core subjects can be studied anywhere throughout the 3 years. With us, you'll be doing them in year 1 and year 2. In year 1, you'll undertake 4 of the core modules, and in year 2, you'll undertake the last 3 of the core modules, which will give you an optional module as well at level 2. it means that level 3 is purely optional modules. And the reason we've chosen to structure our course in that way is because we find it the most advantageous to the students. We weight the degree 30-70 split between your second and third year. So whether you leave us with a first class degree, a 2-1, 2-2, third class, that's all dependent on your second and third year of study. And 30% of your overall degree classification is coming from year 2 and 70% is coming from year 3. That means if you were doing one of the core subjects at year 3 and it's a subject that you're not necessarily that keen on, and to be honest, out of the whole 7 cores, that you're not going to, they're not all going to be your favourites. Some of them just have to be done. If you were doing one of them at level 3 and you didn't fare so well on one of the core subjects, it can have quite a dramatic impact on your overall average. By studying them all at years 1 and 2, it means all of those cores are out the way. So if you weren't to do too well on one of the cores and you're studying it at year 1 doesn't count towards your overall degree classification at all. Year 2 only counts 30% of your overall degree classification. So it wouldn't have such an impact on your grades if you didn't do too well on one of the core subjects. So we think it's a better way to structure the degree, that you get them all out of the way within the first 2 years. The other advantage is that by the time you get to your third year then, you decide what you study entirely. So the third year will be made up of optional modules. That gives you an opportunity in your third year, when you're generally a much better student, you'll progress year by year. And by the third year, 70% of your degree coming from that final year. If you're picking all the optional modules, then you're going to be doing things that you enjoy, that are going to keep you interested, and hopefully then you get the better marks, which when looking at the degree weighting that we have, means hopefully a better class of degree overall. So that's why we structure the degree in the way that we do. So we have these core modules at year 1 and 2, and then the remainder of the degree is made up of those optional modules. It also gives you the opportunity then in the third year to specialise. If you've got an idea by then that maybe you want to go into criminal law, you want to be a human rights lawyer or a commercial lawyer, you can pick your options accordingly and sort of specialise and get as much expertise in that area as you would want to do. Totally up to you what you do with that third year. So what are the core modules? What is it that you're going to have to study over the first 2 years? These are subjects that the professional bodies feel every law student needs to study because they're foundational modules. So they form the basis of a lot of the other optional modules that you will do. And if you're going into practice in the legal profession, you're not going to specialise straight away. You're going to go in, you're going to do your training, and for several years you'll be working predominantly in general practice. So you'll be picking up on a bit of commercial work, a bit of criminal work, a bit of family work, a bit of conveyancing, all sorts of bits and pieces. So these 7 core modules are essential really to go into general practice. These are the core subjects. So we're looking first of all at the law of tort. This is one of your first year modules. And you might not be familiar with what the law of tort is. To put it in more of a context that we understand, it's about our civil liability towards each other. So if we've been negligent, if we're causing a nuisance, it's about compensating a party that's suffered as a consequence of that. So our personal injury claims, that kind of thing. European law, you'll also study at level 1. Fairly self-explanatory, understanding our position in Europe and how Europe impacts on our laws. As it stands at the moment, we're still studying European law. We'll wait and see whether that eventually comes off the list of core modules. We don't know at the moment. Still a core module at the moment. Public law, also studied at level 1, understanding the relationship between citizen and state, our constitutional rights, our human rights. Contract law, that's a subject that I teach. That's also a first year subject. And we're looking at the basic contractual obligations, how you make a contract, what happens when you break a contract. In the second year, you move on to the last 3 subjects. So criminal law, fairly self-explanatory. We're all familiar with the criminal law. Not suggesting we got a room full of criminals, but we see it all the time, don't we? It's all around us in the media, and it's all the juicy stuff, the murders, the manslaughters, all that kind of thing. So every student enjoys a bit of criminal law. Land law, a little bit of an extension of contract law, really. We're looking specifically at contracts for the sale and disposition of land. They're slightly more complex than your average contract, and a lot more to consider in relation to that. And lastly, equity and trusts. understanding the concept of a trust, how you might hold property on trust for another, administer that trust, and so on. That's the 7 core subjects, and you can see why really they're all important to somebody who'd be going into the legal profession. Optional modules, now this will give you an idea of how broad the law is. I talked about it being very diverse, very wide-ranging. And you'll see from some of the subjects that we offer here, this is our sort of general list of optional modules. We're always looking to add to this. We're currently advertising for 4 new members of staff, and hopefully they'll bring other new areas of expertise again, so we can keep developing this list of optional modules. But plenty of things to keep you interested, and things that you just might not have thought about. So we've got things like, we've got cybercrime, legal response to terrorism, medical law, as I said, my subject is sports law, environmental, nature conservation. It gives you an idea of how broad the law is. Everything. The law impacts on everything that we do. So there should be plenty on that list to choose from. And as you said, as I said, on the single honours course, you'll get to choose an optional module at level 2, and then all optional modules at level 3. If you're thinking of joint honours, you don't get any optional modules until level 3, because obviously we're balancing it with your other subject that you would be studying. But you will get a choice of a 50-50 split at level 3 between your other discipline and your legal modules. So plenty of things there to keep you interested. And really, this is about us indulging ourselves in our areas of interest. Most of us teach on at least one of the core subjects. As I said, I teach on the contract law module. But this is really where we're doing our research. This is where our passion lies in these areas of law. So as I said with my sports law module, it gives me the opportunity to sit around and talk about sport all day and just indulge myself in what I enjoy doing. And likewise for everyone else with their optional modules. Now, how are we going to deliver those modules? What can you expect to be doing on a week-by-week basis? Any subject that you're taking, whether it's a core or an optional module, we're looking at usually 2 hours of lectures per week per module. We then also will deliver small group seminar works, and the transferable skills that I talked about at the start, this is where you're really starting to develop those skills in the small group seminars. You'll be in groups of around about 20 students, and we'll give you questions in advance, things for you to go away and research. And it could be a hypothetical legal scenario. We want you to learn how to develop good legal arguments and provide advice to somebody. We might ask you to go off and read a judgment in more detail and look at the impact that that judgment has had on the law. So we have the seminar programme, and you'll be doing 1 hour of seminars per fortnight per subject. What that means, if you add all that up and think, right, so how often am I going to be studying? How many classes will I come to? We're looking at around about 12 to 14 hours a week of contact time. Now, if you plot that out over a 9 to 5 week, that doesn't look that bad, does it? Looks quite easy. You have to remember the nature of the subject. It's not just about those contact hours. With the law, you have to do a lot of reading and a lot of research. If you don't like reading and research, it's probably not the right subject for you. But we need you to go off and read the cases in more detail. We need you to go off and read what the academics are saying about particular legal developments. So you've got to think about, if we're offering sort of 12 to 14 hours of contact time, we usually say for every hour that we offer, you should be looking at supplementing that with another hour of your own. So then we're bringing it up nearer to sort of the high 20s. When you've got coursework, exams, etc., that's going to go up a little bit more. So you've really got to think about what the subject involves. So we'll take you so far, but then we want you to go off, do the reading, do the research, so that in the small group seminars, we can start to create good legal argument. We can start to evaluate what the academics are saying about particular developments. We can start to really analyse particular judgments and look at their impact on the law. And that's where I said the skill set, those transferable skills that you can take into any field of work, that's what you're going to develop through that seminar programme. You're also going to be assessed in each of those subjects. So as you progress through the 3 years, there'll be a whole different range of assessments. So it can range from pieces of coursework, multiple choice, seen exams, unseen exams. So different module leaders will assess their modules in different ways. So you can expect a whole variety of assessments, and you usually get assessed once per module per semester. Okay. So that's what you can expect to be doing. That's sort of takes you through core subjects, optional subjects, the amount of hours of contact time, the amount of hours of reading and research. And a lot of it these days, it's not about just training you to the library and doing all your reading and research in there. Obviously, we subscribe to all the main legal databases. A lot of your work can be done from home. As long as you have access to the internet, you'll have passwords that will get you onto these databases. So a lot of your research can be done from the comfort of your own home, lying in bed, doing your research. So it's not all about just sitting in the library and doing all your work there. I did mention employability. I talked about the fact that it's not just about delivering from the academic side. We want you to be employable afterwards. So we do put a lot of emphasis on employability. So we have a designated employability officer, employability lectures. So we don't just want to send you out with a degree. We want to send you out with a degree and then put you in a position where you can compete with others, that you're confident to compete, you're confident to go for an interview and then hopefully land the job at the end of it. So employability we focus on. The other thing is recognising for most of you, this is the first time that you're going to be away from home. So it isn't just about saying, well, this is what you've got to do, just study and off you go. We recognise that there's a lot more to it than that. So we do have support systems in place. You will have a personal tutor who will be your personal tutor for the 3 years that you're here. What that means is you've always got somebody within the law school that you can go and talk to. If you need a little bit of support, a bit of guidance, a bit of feedback on what you're doing. If there's any personal issues, you can go and talk to your personal tutor and discuss those. And then obviously we'll do what we can then to try and make sure that we can accommodate that. Hopefully you'll just sail through the 3 years with no problems. But this is the first time away from home. So as I said, it's not just managing yourself, getting yourself to lectures and making sure you do the studying, but you're going to be managing your finances, you're going to, having accommodation, all these different kinds of things that you need to manage for yourself. We don't expect you to have to do that alone. If there are problems, you have that support system. And at a minimum, your personal tutor will call you in for sessions so that we can discuss feedback, we can discuss your progress and try and push you to make the next stage, the next grade. So you do have that support system in place. So you don't just feel like you're wandering around thinking, well, who do I talk to? I'm a little bit lost, I'm a bit confused, I don't know what to do. You have somebody who would be your port of call there. We also have disability support within the school, but also within the university. So obviously, if there are any issues in relation to that, then we provide us with that information and we accommodate any disability that we need to do so. The other thing, I talked about the course and the way we do things and the way we structure things. We think we're doing it the right way, but obviously we want your input as well. So we're not just saying this is the way it is and this is the way it's going to stay. We do give students the opportunity through our Staff Student Consultative Committee to contribute to the course and what we do and what progress we might make with it. So you have an opportunity through representatives to have a voice on our Staff Student Consultative Committee. So we like to think we're doing it right, but if we're doing it wrong, we need to know what we're doing wrong. We need to know what you think about ways in which we could change things and improve things. It's always nice to know what we're doing right as well. So it just gives you that voice and that ability to think, well, hang on, it's my degree at the end of the day, and I want a little bit of an input as to how this moves forward. So it's always useful for us, and obviously it gives you a voice to be heard as well. So we do pride ourselves on the amount of support that we provide to students as well. We're not just expecting you to just turn up, get on with it without guidance and support. So it's not just about the academic guidance and support we'll give you, but that personal support that we can offer as well. So you don't need to think, I'm a bit lost, I'm a bit alone, I've got nobody to talk to. Then absolutely not true. So that gives you a quick sort of run through what you can expect to be doing.